Boom, baby, we're alive. Welcome to Tokyo Crypto Show, episode 128, where we're going to be continuing part two of how to survive and thrive in the upcoming financial and pretty much current crisis featuring Ray Dalio. I'm joined by Charlie from cultivatecrypto.com, the co-host here on Tokyo Crypto Show. What's up, Charlie?
Hey, it's going pretty good. I'm getting late this evening, so a little bit tired, but all is well. Ready to keep. I've been, paying attention to the markets. When they're boring, it's usually the best time to be, paying attention because when you're about to get to the point of you're like, come on, Bitcoin, do something, right? Then the volatility comes back.
Yeah, we're kind of sitting at that point right now. Something is definitely going to happen because we've been going sideways just a little bit too long. So that usually means a big move is coming, either up or down. we are in the down camp over here. We do believe it's going to go down a little further, but if you guys are self-aware and intelligent, you know that that's not necessarily a bad thing for everybody in the Moon Gang and the rest of the Hot Dude Army watching. I'm for one am just I'm just on standby. I'm just waiting for things to happen. You know what I mean?
And we've been encouraging a lot of the people that took the Q3 crypto mindset course to sit on a lot of cash, right? There's been some plays over the last quarter and stuff like that to drum up some extra cash. But that's the point of doing what we were calling swing trade summer at the time of the course, right? But then also just in terms of, I think, the next 1 year in crypto, you can drum up a lot of cash if you're just paying attention to just support resistance, and then some cycles in terms of time. We're kind of going back into that phase of what we had in 2019 over the next 1 year, I think, where essentially, I don't know what the price will be. It'll probably be like somewhere around like $40,000 to $50,000. That'll be like the new 10K Bitcoin. Remember, like every time Bitcoin went above 9K, everybody's like, oh my God, it's above 9K again, all the Vegeta memes. And then eventually that commotion stopped and everybody got so bored of it. But then, it started breaking above 10K after I think 3 or 4 tries, and then boom, back into all-time highs. So that time when we're kind of bouncing around, it gives you more time to accumulate. But then also, if you are a person who swing trades over, I would say, weeks or months, you don't want to be swing trading over days. You want to be swing trading over weeks and months. But the people who can pay attention to that and learn that, it's a great time to be starting to learn how to do that type of analysis in the crypto markets, because when you're below all-time highs for a significant period of time, that's usually easier to do that analysis at that time.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just looking at everything with a calm mind. I know for sure that there's going to be a bunch of opportunities for people, and this is not a time to panic. I don't think anybody in our audience really is panicking, though. Honestly, I think the worst has already hit us. I mean, nobody really knows what's going to happen, but my personal opinion, I think we've gotten through the worst. What do you think? You think it's going to get worse?
I think there's a potential. So I guess it just depends what you mean by worse. But what I would say is sometime in 2023, there is a potential for a kind of flash crash, right? Mm-hmm. So in terms of the worst being the lows, right? I think we probably I have either had that or are getting close to that in terms of the worst in that regard. But in terms of like something that catches people off guard, I do think there's a chance for that in 2023 as well, which, if you are prepared for that possibility, right, then you'll be able to find a way to make money on that scenario as well. It's kind of like the Corona crash or the crash during March of 2020. Very hard to see that one coming, but if you were paying attention on a consistent basis to what's happening, right? I got kind of lucky in the lucky because you're prepared in the right way in 2020, because I did have a stop loss order on some Bitcoin at $7,700, because I think we came down from, I can't remember exactly, but it was around like maybe 9,800 or something we were up to, and we always kept getting rejected at 10K. So I was like, okay, if we go below this 7,700 mark, I probably want to sell because we'll probably go down to 6,000. And then the Corona crash happened and we went down to 6,000. I was like, okay, that's good, sitting on cash. Then we went down to like 5,500, 5,000, 4,000, and then it was like 3,800. It was like, holy shit, are we going to like break the pattern and go below the $3,100 low? And we didn't. but I ended up buying back in around like 5,500 or so. So, you know, made a little extra Bitcoin on that spread. And yeah, but it didn't make the ride any less wild. But having, you know, that stop loss order in there for, you know, it wasn't my whole portfolio, but as a portion, but that does help give you kind of a sanity check during that kind of wild volatility.
Yeah. Did you hear what's going on between the Federal Reserve and OPEC right now?
No, I don't know the details of that.
All right, here, I'll just share my screen to show you guys what this is. Something else brought to my attention. Take a look here. It's just a quick clip off of Instagram. We'll play it right here. So kind of makes you think too, because they recently took Chinese yuan for some oil payments as well. You know, could be this some underlying animosity between the States and Saudi Arabia. Who knows? I do have a lingering suspicion that after the election is finished in November, gas prices might go back up as well. That's a personal theory of mine. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's very possible. I think, you know, supply chains and those types of things are, you know, getting disrupted, the pipeline getting disrupted, all those different things. Yeah, very easily could happen. I mean, one of the guys in our chats, shout out to Twinkie, he shared an article that we included in our newsletter this week for the Citadel, talking about the chance of, because metal's getting so expensive in Europe, right, that Europe could essentially start deindustrializing, right, which is freaking crazy. And so you get oil problems, you get problems with just metal in general and different supply chain issues with things. I actually did have a consultation with a guy who was, I forget where he was at the time, but it was like a year ago or a year and a half ago. And he was saying, hey, there might be some supply chain disruptions, which could affect, like have like domino effects on the world economy for these different types of industries. And, you know, I took that information seriously, but it's like, it's so far out, it's hard to see the effect. And now, you know, along with the war in Ukraine and all this, you know, kind of craziness, it's all kind of coming together a little bit, you know? So
speaking of the war of Ukraine, I'm so glad you brought that up. Because if you take
a look, it's going to be a
look,
theme over the next 1 year, I'll tell you that much.
Well, buddy, let me show you something. Did you see? This is the new Prime Minister of the UK, getting straight to the issue here, getting Britain moving.
Oh, right. You can't hear the sound on this one.
You can't hear any sound?
No.
Oh, really? You sure? You should be able to.
Nope.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, hold on 2 seconds. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, how about now?
We should not give in to those who want a deal which trades away Ukrainian land. They are proposing to pay in Ukrainian lives for the illusion of peace. We will stand with our Ukrainian friends, however long it takes. Ukraine can win, Ukraine must win, and Ukraine will win.
Spend my money. Kill people and spend my money. That's what I voted for.
Yeah, when they were trying to convince it was like 6 months ago, right after, I think it was because like Gavin Wood of Polkadot in January had given some money through DOT, right, to the Ukraine. And then like, it was like 2 months later, they were trying to like convince crypto people to like donate crypto to the war effort. And I'm just like, if you've been paying attention to crypto long enough, you know, we're libertarians in general, right? And, you know, it's live, let live type deal. And it's like, we're pretty much against war. If you listen to a lot of what Roger Ver said in the early days of Bitcoin, right? He said, you know, having a better sound money will prevent some, you know, conflicts worldwide. Not all, but some, right? And so it's like, you know, that to me always struck me as weird, but it's just like, yeah, you know, they're going to use your tax dollars however they want, right? Because once they're theirs, they're not yours anymore, even if you vote.
Yeah, man, it's just funny. But I think, like I said, there's just going to be. I did a show on my channel, and I talked about how I covered Vladimir Putin's most recent speech, and he's talking about how the Western hegemony is falling apart, and it totally is. And we are absolutely in the middle of this great transition, and a big part of this is twofold. One, it's the internet, and two, it's the money of the internet, which is cryptocurrency. You know, these decentralized currencies, they're not gonna last. Like, it's not, it's archaic. It's, first of all, it's an unfair, broken, biased system. Second of all, the governments really don't have control of anything. Like, it's an illusion of control. Control in itself is an illusion. But all you need to do is win the court of public opinion. And I think, especially with having the corona and all these different things that are happening in the world, I mean, look, at the Canadian people hate Justin Trudeau, right? Boris Johnson was just voted out. This bitch, who knows how long she's going to last? Probably not long. People definitely hate Joe Biden, right? I mean, it's just like, I mean, Shinzo Abe was just killed in Japan, right?
Yep.
I mean, you know, this is just not going to get any better because people, I think, in just general, are tired of ignorant governments getting in the way more than helping people. And
yeah, you forgot to add one thing that happened earlier this week, right? In Japan, with the newest missile test over Japan for the first time since 2017 from our good old dear leader, you know, in North Korea, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, all sorts of shit.
It's been happening so often here. I'm just like, oh, it was a missile. I'm going back to bed. You know?
We're kind of used to it from 2017, right? But it was still the first one since then. And it was just like the ineffectiveness of the Biden administration, clear as day, right?
Yeah. I mean, at least Trump terrified him to stop doing that shit by saying, like, we'll fucking turn you into Lake Korea.
Right? And then I think there was a video of Kamala Harris saying literally the words that we have an alliance with them. I was like, are you fucking batshit insane?
She just misspoke like every moron in that cabinet.
But it doesn't matter. Like, it's like these misspeaks, right? Like, Biden's been having these misspeaks about Taiwan. They're intentional. Like, they're not, I mean, either that or they're like so gross. It's like, are they that stupid or are they just grossly incompetent? Like, probably a little bit of column A, probably a little bit of column B, but at the same time, it makes you wonder a little bit, you know?
I mean, honestly, I mean, let's just, while we're on the topic of incompetent governments, there was a professor who was supposed to be, you know, a good little dog. He was on MSNBC and they're talking about Nord Stream 1 and 2. And he was like, well, it's pretty evident that the United States did this. And the reporter lost her mind. She was like, well, what do you mean? How can you say that? That is unpatriotic, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, dude, it's like, our government has become so incompetent that like average Joes like us can sit down and be like, oh, we did that. That's like fucking terribly like sloppy work. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so, you know, I don't know. I'm just watching this whole shit. I don't know, man. I'm about to buy a cabin and just disappear into the woods, Charlie. I'm almost there.
Just don't go full Ted Kaczynski, I think is his name, right? The Unabomber. But, you know, all jokes aside, yeah, it's idiocracy. I mean, this is like every time I listen to portions of The Sovereign Individual, you know, like reading the whole or listening to the whole book through is always a good thing. But even if you just go back and listen to different portions as a reminder, like a lot of what they're talking about is happening. They're like, government's going to get so grossly incompetent. And, people are going to resist through money that is basically privatized via encryption, which they described as basically Bitcoin back in 1997, that the people are going to end up just, not listening to the government anymore, not listening to authority. And we see that happening.
Like I said, I've been saying it for years.
Yep.
In 2016, there was a Department of Defense leaked document, right? And they said, like, we've noticed that people are no longer, like, people are less and less likely to comply with us. Like, they're becoming less and less likely to comply. But they said they are overall unaware of what's really happening behind the scenes, but we're losing control over the people. And it's like, I think when you had people controlled under the guise of, like, wanting to protect their family, that's a far more biological control than like this whole divide and conquer thing they're trying to do, or break up families, enact these insane divorce laws that like incentivize people to just, mainly in America, like women to destroy family units.
Yeah, look at ex Miss Bezos, right? She's done it twice now.
Yeah, exactly. And like a lot of these chicks, they're out there finessing basketball players. Like NBA basketball players and NFL football players are now getting training saying, like, after you have sex with a woman, take your condom and flush it down the toilet, or like put hot sauce in the condom or something like that, just to taint your sperm, because that's the lengths that these people are doing. It's becoming like a survival mechanism for some low level beings out there, instead of coming together and, like, having a family and being fucking normal. So obviously this new what is it called? The liberal new world order that the George Bush and them put together. Or excuse me, that was actually more likely post World War II. It's clearly falling apart. Let me play a quick clip here from Vladimir Putin's most recent speech that kind of ties into this. This is on a great account called Putin Direct. You can see exactly what Putin's saying with translations. But just take a look at here. This is a 1-minute clip. This is great for the audience. Just kind of lets you know that, and obviously big governments, Russia just froze another cryptocurrency exchange today. China, it is obviously trying to fight tooth and nail against cryptocurrency, but even the Chinese are fighting back. They're doing the zero corona policy, where they have like medical guards with machine guns now in airports.
Yeah, I saw that.
And the Chinese people are fighting back. So like this, a lot of people are crying like, oh my God, the social credit system's coming, and this is coming, that's coming. And it's just not true. The social credit system is only enacted in parts of China, not all of China. And in order to like truly enslave humanity, because everybody thinks that's where we're inevitably heading, it's not true. Okay, humanity is trending towards freedom. Every year, the individual becomes more and more free. This is the age of the solopreneur as well. I'm a solopreneur. You're a solopreneur. The people who are, you and I share one common employee, and he's a solopreneur, right? And like we're literally running two businesses that generate 7 figures each, and we're just two guys.
Yeah.
And
it used to be like, 2 guys, 1 mic. Now we're 2 guys, 2 mics,
There you go. 2 guys, 1 video editing guy. And so, that's the age that we're heading out to. And I've talked to so many people within the crypto mindset, in the CIA, and just meeting these people who are also solopreneurs, who are super smart, super structured, and like the biggest thing getting in the way of all these people is the fucking government.
Yeah.
Right. And so, anyways, take a look at this clip right now, and this really shows how a lot of people are just tired of this government incompetence, and governments have to understand cryptocurrency was enabled and birthed due to the financial incompetence after the 2008 Lehman shock crisis. Take a look here.
Do you want to put on sound again?
Oh, sorry. I have it structured differently on my end. Thank you so much.
No worries.
All right, let me go. And just clearing this up, this is not me like saying like I love Vladimir Putin. What I'm saying is like because some people said that on my stream, and I was just like, Jesus Christ.
He's a political figure of world politics. So you got to listen to every single side, right? And you got to make a decision based on critical thinking. That's pretty much what it comes down to, right?
Yeah. And so take a look here. What I'm trying to tell you is he's a canary in the coal mine. This is a man who leads a nation of millions and millions of people. And watch what he says.
Формируются новые центры развития. Они представляют большинство мирового сообщества и готовы не только заявлять о своих интересах, но и защищать их. И в многополярности видят возможность укрепить свой суверенитет, а значит обрести истинную свободу, историческую перспективу. Свое право на самостоятельное, творческое, самобытное развитие, на гармоничный процесс. Во всем мире, в том числе и в Европе и Соединенных Штатах, как я уже сказал, у нас много единомышленников, и мы чувствуем, мы видим их поддержку. Внутри самых разных стран и обществ уже развивается по своему характеру.
Right there, an anti-colonial liberation movement against unipolar hegemony is taking shape in different countries and societies. Its power will only grow with time, right? And if you look at the nations that truly like kind of run the world, they are all directly associated with World War II, either allies of the American or got bombed into fucking submissions by the American, right?
Yeah, and
Germany,
allies.
Right. Germany, we whooped their ass. France, they always need somebody to bail them out. It was just our turn. America or America. Canada, America light, right? Japan, we bombed them into submission. Korea, after the Korean War, we had to fucking get them situated as well to fight the communist spread of China.
Yep.
And that's us basically. But now look at all those countries. These used to be great countries, like strong countries, and now they're all fucking becoming massive shitholes. You know what I mean? Even Japan is kind of like, if these fuckers don't change their way, and honestly, it's sad to say, but like Japan is like America's bitch. Like the way, you know, this place is run and controlled by America. Like people don't think it is, but it absolutely is. Of all the bases here and everything. And the thing is this, though, people are just getting tired of the American kind of like dictatorship to an extent, and it's overreaching. And people, the thing about the internet is it gave people a window into other people's reality. And it gave everybody an opportunity to see what freedom looks like and see what an upper echelon of living looks like. And some people get angry and other people get fucking motivated. And people want freedom and want the top life now more than ever, especially with Instagram. But how everybody's so addicted to Instagram, you know, that's just, it's a recipe for people wanting more freedom.
Yeah. And you don't have to, like, the biggest realization that I think people will be making, and I think a lot of people in the Moon Gang have made this realization, or at least have started to, right, is self-reliance, right?
Yeah.
I think sovereignty, exactly. So many people have been, I mean, we were, you know, taught this growing up that, you know, you are, you know, we sang, what was it? The national, not the national anthem, the Pledge of Allegiance, right? Every single morning at school, you know, you're basically, you know, hey, be a good, you know, person to the country, which, you know, to some extent, you, of course, is correct. But at the same time, there's sometimes where you have to have allegiance to yourself, your family, and you know, your local area, right, over like the national or global order. So I think that idea of self-reliance is becoming more and more popular as people realize, oh, I can control what I can control, and I don't have to worry as much about the things out of my control, because the media wants you to feel like you're not in control of anything, and they just want you to pump in, you know, all the different emotions of fear, and whatever, you know, that they're trying to get you spike your emotions on, right? So I like the fact that people are starting to think, okay, maybe I can, you know, take control of more things. And that's why I was pretty pissed off about you know, the pandemic measures in general, because it was like taking several steps backwards in history to some extent, because people need the freedom to move around the world, visit different cultures, you know, experience different realities other than their own. Otherwise, you know, I think the people who end up kind of being the most zealous in usually negative ways when it comes to politics, they tend to be the people who don't really travel that much, or they just like get indoctrinated into one system and they haven't seen enough of the world to be able to make a critical, you know, thinking or decision. So it's good, you know, that the internet's opened that up for people that might not have the means to travel yet.
Yeah, and it's only going to get better. I'm optimistic for the future. I know it's easy, low-hanging fruit to be pessimistic, but honestly, I'm optimistic, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. Like every year, things just keep on getting better and better and better for the average man and humanity, if you actually take the opportunity to make it better. Like look at you and I. Like we just sat down, we had an idea, and we built this business, and here we are. You know, Like, think about it. We have free lead gen via social media. Every person has free lead gen via social media.
Mm.
You have to pay good money to get lead gen in the corporate world. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Us from the recruitment industry, you have to pay like 40% fees. Like if you're going through me, you're paying 40%. But you know, like so I just think I'm so optimistic for it. Let me just play this out real quick.
Освободительное, антиколониальное движение против однополярной гегемонии. Его субъектность только будет нарастать. Именно эта сила будет определять будущую геополитическую реальность.
That's it right there. You know, I'll just say this real quick as well. If you look at his one of his excerpts from that speech, he oh, you know what? Let me let me play this last one. This one's kind of funny because I'll let the audience see it. If you're a history buff, you'll see this kind of jab he takes at American allies. Take a look here.
Западные страны веками твердят о том, что они несут другим народам свободу и демократию. Все с точностью да наоборот. Вместо демократии – подавление и эксплуатация. Вместо свободы – порабощение и насилие. Весь однополярный миропорядок по своей сущности антидемократичен и не свободен. Он лжив и лицемерен насквозь. США – единственная страна в мире, дважды применившая ядерное оружие, уничтожив японские города Хиросиму и Нагасаки. Кстати говоря, создали прецедент. США оставили страшный след в памяти народов Кореи и Вьетнама варварскими ковровыми бомбардировками, применением напалма и химического оружия. До сих пор фактически оккупируют Германию, Японию, Республику Корея, да и другие страны. И при этом цинично называют их равноправными союзниками. Послушайте, интересно, что это за союзничество такое? Ну, весь мир же знает, что за руководителями этих стран следят. Первым лицам этих государств устанавливают подслушивающие устройства не только в служебных, но и в жилых помещениях. Это настоящий позор. Позор и для тех, кто это делает, и для тех, кто, как рабы, молча и безропотно глотает это хамство.
And yeah, I'll let you say your piece first, and then I guess
he's just calling out. He's like, you know, Germany, Japan, South Korea are under U.S. occupation, and with their leaders acting like slaves to the Washington establishment. Like, you don't go around saying that in Japan and make friends.
Not necessarily as a politician, no.
Definitely not Korea.
Right. Well, yeah. The only thing the couple of things that are interesting about that is, one, you could easily say that about the Russian government against their own people as well, right? So that, I mean, that's been the history of Russia the entire time. It's just, you know, gulag after gulag. I mean, obviously that's a bit of a stretch for nowadays, but you know, if you read some Dostoevsky, yeah, it was quite the country. But and then the other part of that is, yeah, he's absolutely right though. Right at the same time, right? And then the scariest part within there, I think, which is probably one of the most understated parts, is, you know, about the nuclear bombs in Japan, right? Setting a precedent in terms of how to use them, right? And there's some speculation, right, that I mean, Putin said, you know, I will not hesitate. This is not a bluff. I will use nuclear weapons at some point if need be, right? And so referencing that, you know, is kind of one of those things. It's like a little bit like, you know, you usually those types of things in terms of war drum beating, right, starts slow, like a little bit by bit, and then starts getting more and more and more. So like, yeah, I mean, he's playing his cards, right? So yeah, it's just interesting to see on the political stage, like how, like, he's a politician that's capable of, you know, being a leader who's going to give these ideas from, you know, his pulpit basically, whereas obviously Biden currently, you know, he's clearly a puppet, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I mean, there's no way in hell you could argue that he is actually, you know, a strong leader who can actually give, you know, a counter argument to that. So, which is, you know, not good for the Americans, right? But in general, for politics. So it's just interesting to kind of read into those things a little bit. But at the end of the day, again, it comes back down to what can we control? Well, that whatever happens on that front happens, right? What we can control is that, there's infinite amounts of money being printed to some extent, and it's flowing all through the internet digitally through banks and through crypto. And so might as well figure out a way to enjoy, everything else while those guys, figure out whatever that political bullshit is,
Yeah, but like I said, I think it's just. I mean, I'm not trying. Like again, that's why I initially said like I'm not saying Putin is a savior or whatever.
No. But you got to listen to the guy. I mean, if you ignore the guy's information, it's you're ignoring what's happening, right? The other thing is, I guess, Snowden as well, right? He shined a light on all of that very, very clearly, and that information needs to be known, and it's a good thing that it is known.
Yeah, I mean, he fucked up by going to the Guardian. He thought that the media wasn't controlled,
right?
But now we all know. But it's okay. He did his best. They'll get USA will get him eventually too.
Yeah, I think Obama was going after him for a while, and so was they're not letting him back into the U.S. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, no, not at all. Let's take a look at some coins here.
Yeah, let's do it. Give me a.
We're gonna take a look. We're gonna take a look at Bitcoin, and then we're gonna take a look at Ethereum, kind of seeing what's going on. We are predicting a downward movement in October. We have kind of been trending sideways right now, but in the meantime, stand by. Don't run ahead and make kind of crazy moves. And Charlie, take it away.
Yeah, pretty simple. We have kind of with the 60-day cycles where the low is absolutely clear, you pretty much can make a grid. And so you make the grid in terms of time and in terms of price. So the first part that you make the grid on is price. So we have the low here on September 7th of $18,540, right? This was the major low, which was beyond an average of 60 days from the low that we had in the summer. So it was a lengthened cycle, but at the same time, it was a bullish cycle, meaning the high was past day 30. It was on day 58 of the cycle. So whenever we have a high past day 30, it is possible for us to get a longer than average cycle. So that's what we had there. From low to low was 81 days. And it also did kind of make up for the capitulation that happened here, which gave us a shorter cycle. So if you average the two cycles together, it basically evens out to about that 55, 60-day mark, which is our average over the last few years. And so that makes this low pretty clear. If you do turn it into a line chart as well, which just basically goes on daily closes, you can see this low here, right, was the close of the candle happened lower than any of the previous ones from the early part of the cycle. So that also gives you some confirmation there. And then we had this huge rally by, I guess, the current Bitcoin standards, right? It went up here significantly up to the bottom part of the trend line that it had broken down from, right? And then hit that area, got rejected massively on the 13th of September, which was the same day as the CPI numbers came out in September. So that gave us a bearish cycle high. So that gives us the top line. So we have the low here, right, of about that 18,500. Then we have a high here of about 22,800, right? So a pretty good range. And then you have this mid price of 20,500, which also after this capitulation area here in the early summer was a pivot point before Bitcoin broke to the upside. So that $20,500 mark is pretty significant. And you can see here over the last 24 hours, that's where we're getting rejected from, right? Bitcoin came up here right to it, just underneath it, got rejected right now. As of right now, we have a red daily candle. Now, the thing that you want to do in terms of time then, so we have a high and we have a low, we're closer to the low at the current moment, and the high is on day 6, which would be bearish, which would mean the price would generally lean towards the downside. We also did break a couple daily closes to the downside on September 21st. So that is also the cycles hinting that, hey, I want to break down, but it did regain this longer term trend line. And so that's kind of holding it up and bouncing off of that at the moment. So we're in this range here, basically between 18,500 and 20,500. And then the most important part of the 60-day cycle is day 30. Well, not the most important, but one of the most important time frames. Why? Because we usually have a breakdown going into day 30, which would also bring us more likely closer back to the cycle lows. And then here's the easy part of the 60-day cycle is we have a high, way early in the cycle. We break down into day 30 and we have a low that, or we have a time around day 30 where the price is much, much closer to the low. We already broke the low. And so it's just Bitcoin giving you plenty of signs that says, I want to break down, I want to break down, I want to break down. So the next time I think we break below this 18,500 mark, we might bounce off of it one more time, right? We had a low here, bounce off of it once, twice, 3 times. We might bounce up a little bit again. And then boom, after day 35, which is on October 12th, which is one day before what? The next CPI number update, basically, right? Which we had this giant red candle for. So I wouldn't be surprised if after day 35, we start getting those bigger red days going all the way into, at minimum, I would say 80% of the time, the minimum cycle is about 50 days. You can get a shorter cycle like we saw over here. But generally speaking, right, we will go at least until day 50. So that will give us from about the 12th to the 27th of October. So about, what's that, 15 days of downwards price action where it's relatively heavy. I do think once we get down below 17,500, people will start it's kind of like this move down here. It gets down, and then once it breaks that previous low, it gets harsher, right? And so if we do have a daily close below the 17,500 mark, right, then I think you start getting these harsher moves to the downside towards 15, 16, $14,000 Bitcoin. And a full 60 days would bring us here to about November 6th. And, you can go a little bit longer as well, right? You can have a 65-day cycle, which would bring us to about November 11th. So right around the midterm elections or Halloween, that area there, that's when you want to be searching for lows if we are below that 17,500. So that's like the most likely scenario 80% of the time based on what we're seeing with the 60-day cycles currently. Now there's a 20% chance, just giving broad probabilities, but that's basically how it works the majority of the time for the 60-day cycle. So, 10, 20% chance that if Bitcoin does break up above this 20,500 in the second half of the 60-day cycle, you could, kind of the best case scenario for the bulls is really you just get a crabbing cycle where you kind of come here, for whatever reason, Bitcoin bounces off there. It doesn't want to break down for whatever reason. And then it does do a rally here for some reason. And then it goes into a cycle low that is maybe close to or similar to the low here, but then that gets defended. Then we get into a new 60-day cycle, right? And then we get another round of, okay, when are we going to break down type of scenario. So you could see this level be defended in just a slightly lower low, right? But I would be pretty much shocked if Bitcoin came anywhere near or above $23,000 by the time we get to the midterm elections. So that gives us, kind of best case scenario, which is not very great. And then worst case, not worst case scenario, but like probably normalized scenario, right, of us kind of going down like this, maybe down to like 16,000, 15,500, 14,000. And then, we have one more 60-day cycle. If we're looking at it from a 4-year cycle perspective, right? Could this be the low of the bear market? Absolutely could if we break down below that 17,500, but we could also have one more low, right? We could then pop back up here, get this area to become strong resistance and get one more capitulation into the end of the year or early 2023. So we could see that type of pattern over the next 2 cycles. So the next 60-day cycle is probably not something that you want to try to predict right now. The main thing is just look at what's right in front of you, the 60-day cycle, and this is the most likely scenario. And then once we get closer to the end of that 60 days, once you start seeing some relief, right, anything under $20,000 for Bitcoin is a great buy. And if you're for even, I would say the next 6 months to 1 year, if you are looking at Bitcoin in terms of, longer time frames, in terms of, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then to be honest, anything below $40,000 is a low risk buy. So with that being said, under 20,000 is a massive steal. And I think psychologically people know that because that was the previous high of the bull market in 2017. So we should get plenty of buying pressure over the next 2 60-day cycle lows if we continue to stay crabby to bearish. So that's the outlook for Bitcoin. Did you want to say anything on that before I move over to what's going on with Ethereum?
No, I mean, me personally, like, I'm not even worried about 2023. I'm not worried about 2024. My eyes are on the prize of 2025. Like, everything I'm doing now, I'm planning for 2025. So, I mean, people like got to chill with being too stingy, man. That's the number one thing that burns people all the time, is being too greedy. And conservatively speaking, in my opinion, obviously nobody.
So you have accepted the truth.
Thanks for subscribing. So in my personal opinion, right, I think that we're gonna get back to all-time highs of 60,000 for sure. So just ask yourself a question right now. If you're at home, would you be okay in 2025 for your investment to make a 3x? Could you 3x that money on your own? If you can 3x it on your own in a shorter time frame, then by all means, knock yourself out. Maybe crypto's not the thing for you. But if you want to take a safe bet, in my opinion, as a guy who's been in the cryptocurrency market for 6 years now, I'm looking at 2025. And honestly, even if you get a 3x, I mean, look, with that 10,000 becomes 30,000, 30,000 becomes 90,000, 90,000 becomes 270,000, 270,000 becomes almost $1 million. You're like you're just a smidgen away from $1 million. So do you really need anything more than that? That's where you have to have your end goal in mind and have
that's a virtual guarantee.
Yeah, exactly.
From Bitcoin and Ethereum, you can pretty much say Bitcoin's going to get to $69,000. You can pretty much say Ethereum's going to get back to $4,900. Which for Ethereum, that's even better, right? Because if Ethereum comes down towards this 1,000 mark or anywhere lower than that during one of these two cycles, during the current 60-day cycle or even the next one, I mean, that's a 3x on Bitcoin, 3x plus. For Ethereum, that's basically a 5x. So and those two are, like I said, virtually guaranteed and very, very low risk because they have enough history.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's looking good though. I think 5K Ethereum is absolutely going to happen. You're not going to tell me otherwise that 5K Ethereum is going to happen.
I would say, I know people are going to, some people who, have been in crypto for a short period of time are going to roll their eyes, but I mean, $100,000 Bitcoin, because after you break $69,000, right? How far is it to get to 100,000? It's a 30% move to the upside, not exactly, but roughly speaking, maybe you could say 40%, but it's not that much. And then Ethereum breaking above 5,000, doing a 2x essentially, or 100% move to 10,000 wouldn't surprise me at all, somewhere around 2025, 2026. So, hey, I think there's, less risky bets out there, but not anything less risky that has this type of potential.
Well, you just got to think that Ethereum is still controlled by a central organization, aka Vitalik Buterin. And every cryptocurrency guy knows that every time there's a bull run, you better smash your previous all-time highs or the main public is not going to take you seriously. Period.
Yep.
Period. So if you're Vitalik Buterin, it is in your goddamn best interest to jack that fucking price up. And you believe me, he has the power to do that.
Oh yes. And the whales are going to support him in that. And there's a lot of whales now that are pretty much the exchanges, right? Because they have a lot of the Ethereum staked. So yeah, and not having the miners in the game removes sell pressure for Ethereum as well, because the miners were consistent sell pressure to take care of their rigs, which we see on Bitcoin, right? The episode I did yesterday was talking about who are the sellers that are left in Bitcoin. Well, if Bitcoin stays undervalued, which is under about $21,000 for a significant period of time, then and if it breaks below the lows that we had in the summer, it's going to force the miners to sell. Now, Ethereum with proof of stake doesn't have that type of sell pressure anymore. The different type of sell pressure that they do have is when they do have the unstaked portion of Ethereum come out, where right now all the Ethereum that's been staked is locked in for those 32 plus Ethereum nodes that are out there. So there will be some sell pressure from that when those become unlocked, because people are in massive profits. But just comparatively, it's not as much consistent sell pressure from those players as the miners were for Bitcoin. So that's, price positive more for Ethereum as well in the next run.
Yep. And it looks like the news is just in. OPEC has agreed to cut 2 million cut of 2 million barrels per day, literally 4 minutes ago. OPEC has agreed on that, so it's going down. So it looks like maybe these gas prices are going to go back up post election. We'll see. How long do you think that takes to price in?
God only knows. But maybe a couple days, a few days, week.
Long oil, 3x leverage, baby, go.
I hate the traditional industry because I use different tools to short oil. I think it was at the time it was about $50-$60 a barrel. It was at least above 40, and that was before it went negative. And I was like, once it went down, I was like, ooh, I'm in the money. And then it went negative. I thought I was still like even more in the money. But of course, the way that a lot of those trading tools work in the traditional stock market, they find a way to basically be like, well, it's kind of like when you go to Vegas, right? You bet on a line and they're like, well, something changed. And they just have it so much in their favor. It's a rigged game. So it's like, I just stick to crypto because it's a lot simpler when it comes to leverage, but it's a lot simpler as well when it comes to, humans always find a way to rig the game, but at least in crypto, it's a lot more obvious where those things are and aren't, in my opinion.
We're going to see what happens. That is for sure. We're going to keep an eye on that. But let's just jump into today's video. So we're going to pick up where we left off on the how to survive and thrive in the upcoming financial crisis with Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio recently stepped down from his position at Bridgewater Capital, right, Charlie?
Bridgewater Associates, yep.
Bridgewater Associates, excuse me. That is his hedge fund where they consistently outperform the markets since 1985. So they're managing, how much money was 120 billion? How much?
$150 billion since, and they've grown that pretty much our entire lifetimes from 1985 until now. So well done on the career.
Not bad at all. So anyways, let's go take a look at what we got here. Let me know if there's an echo on this one. Yeah, Charlie?
Sure.
Go ahead. Press this.
Can start taking a longer view of this. What's the role that you see education playing in? When I grew up, it was just assumed I was going to go to college. I did go to college, and I would have for a very long time told everybody they should be going to college. Now I've sort of cooled off on that in terms of the debt that people are getting into. I know you and your wife are working a lot in the school system there in Connecticut. How do you think about that? What's the importance of education in, when we start thinking about protecting successive generations? How much of that comes down to education?
Education is the most important thing. I was raised with a very modest economic background. My dad was a jazz musician. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. But I was lucky to have parents who cared for me. And I went to a public school and I got a good education. And I came out to a world of equal opportunity. And I believe that those are fundamental necessities that you have to know how to have an education of, facts like you have to know how to read, write, and arithmetic, but you also have to know how to behave well with others, to be a good citizen, operate in a civil way, to be able then to go into jobs. And that that education can be anything that works. I think the big thing is, three big things on what I think work should be. Make your work and your passion the same thing and make it economic. If it works, that you love your work, you'll probably be better at your work. And then you find so you want those things, and then there's the economics of it. And so it could be anything from learning trades, whatever it may be. Education certainly does not have to be college. College is overemphasized.
Yeah.
And having a good, productive career. When I watch these remarkable people who are on the front lines of dealing with this virus situation, and I look at them, some of the greatest people are the people who have the capabilities of doing certain things that have nothing to do with going to college, and they're on the front lines and they're contributing a lot. And so so in education and civility, but that means that there has to be equal opportunity. So yes, what my wife and I have done is we're particularly heartbroken or disenchanted with poverty affecting children and high school students having the equal opportunity of education. So our particular focus in Connecticut, we made a donation, a large donation, $100 million donation to the state of Connecticut for them to match, and are working to get those students through high school, but it could be trade school, and into jobs and to be able to be productive. So
Can you pause it there for a second?
Yeah.
The interesting thing about what he's saying is it's very close to the German education system. The thing I thought was really cool when I did a homestay in Germany for a couple of weeks when I was 16, which was, great because it's just kind of, see another way of living and stuff like this. But at 16, right, we were just, in the beginning to middle of high school. And a lot of what I was kind of jealous of the German kids was they got to kind of choose their kind of career path from, I think it's called gymnasium or some gymnasium is how it's spelled. Something like that is what they call their junior high school. And so from 7th and 8th grade, the bad part about it is like, it kind of takes the stupid kids and makes them force them into like one branch or another. But what it does do is, as well as it kind of, what he's saying here is it gets people to have a realistic path towards what they can kind of achieve in society. Right. And so you start learning a trade, you start becoming more specialized throughout high school. And then when you get into a university, if you need it, you might not need it. And then, it's a more practical way, I think, of doing education. But whereas in America, right, a lot of the times they're just like, yeah, we don't know what the hell you're going to do. Just get a general education all the way through a liberal arts and university, and then just go and be somebody, So I do think, not everybody needs to go to college, but it used to be that was the pinnacle, right? And I think people are starting to realize that colleges have become a business, right? Self-actualization or self-realization through self-study is through the internet is probably, if you're a motivated enough person to have the discipline to do that for yourself, is one of the best ways. Because I mean, in my career, if you want to call it that, and probably in Ray Dalio's career and your career and a lot of people who've made it out for themselves, I was never really energized about my work. I enjoyed teaching English for a period of time here in Japan. That was nice. But it wasn't something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I enjoyed making the money we did as recruiters, but definitely wasn't something I wanted to do for the rest of my life or become a manager in. But once I started doing crypto, right, even though I don't come from a financial, I didn't have a finance major in university. I think, there you go. That because I didn't have that major, I felt like maybe this is something I couldn't do, but because I self-studied and because I spent every single day waking hour on figuring this stuff out, now it's become my passion and it's something that I want to do. So I think more people kind of need to figure those things out earlier in life because, the current university system doesn't promote that.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go down to the top 10 business or top 10 college degrees in America, which are complete jokes. Number one, business. Oh, great. You learn how to be a 9-to-5 office normie with no hard skill. You're just like literally, this is like you just go to the United States college to just get in debt, do drugs, and drink alcohol and get fat. And then you go work a 9-to-5. Health professions, I will say this is good if you're getting something like nursing, okay? But stuff like nutritional science, public health, sports health, healthcare administration. I mean, okay, the administration stuff is good too. If you run like the finances or you run the administration for a hospital, that's lucrative, especially in the States. Social science and history, trash. Engineer, solid. Bio, 50-50. Psychology, totally trash. How do I know? I have a psychology degree. Communication journalism, pretty much trash. Charlie has a journalism degree, basically. Well,
Right.
creative
Creative
writing.
writing, BFA, Bachelor of Fine Arts in Creative Writing, sir.
Don't say that on the internet. People can remember that.
It's already on LinkedIn, so it's all good.
Visual and performing arts, trash. Computer and information sciences, this is solid. Computer programming, cybersecurity, that's good. Data science, database management, low tier. Information technology, okay. Network administration, good. Software engineer, web development. This is really solid. Education, garbage. Like, I know kids are the future, but what are we teaching kids? Like, dudes like to bang each other.
Yeah, right. Education used to be good, right?
Yeah.
Like, it used to be something to strive for. It's actually something good for society as well. But I mean, they don't pay. Like, they take what, a certain portion of the budget and they fund it towards sending missiles, over in Eastern Europe, actually educating children at home in a lot of different countries. So it's just like, education should be prioritized, but it's not a good career path now, just because there's no way to make money on it. So you need a bit of capitalism even in those types of environments too.
Yeah, definitely. Let's continue on here, because he is right. I mean, the self-study, everything I've learned on building this entire business, I've learned through myself and through other people that I've directly hired, that I've learned in a shorter amount of time. Keep in mind, I launched my internet business when it was 2019 plus, that was, yeah, I was 33 years old, and now I'm going to be 37 in December 2nd. And so less than 4 years was able to break the 7-figure mark.
Yeah,
studying. Wish I did
a lot
this
of companies never even make a profit in their first 5 years.
Well, they're not us.
Yep, clearly.
But I definitely think my psychology degree had something to do with it, Charlie, I gotta say.
Societies. And these are the things that matter most. The society becomes a fairer society when there's equal opportunity for education. And also, it becomes a more productive society, because the opportunities, when extended throughout the whole population, means that you get more people on the basis of merit. Right now, that system is not operating in a good, effective way. For example, people in the top 40% of income will spend about 5 times as much money on their children's education than those in the bottom 60%. And that's neither fair nor productive. So I think that these.
But given the lower half, do you think if they had the money, they'd spend more on their children's education?
Not currently.
I mean, he's being a little bit of an old man idealist, quite frankly.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at America in the 1950s, right, people probably would, right? But America these days, definitely not. So, I mean, that's the generation he comes from, right? It's not the current way.
Types of questions are going to have to be examined by policymakers in a bipartisan way as we go through this. But yes, in answer to your question, it really starts with good total education, the good raising of children in terms of their actual formal education and their informal education, and then going out and having an environment of equal opportunity.
What is up, my friend? Tom Bilyeu here, and I have a big question to ask you. How would you rate your level of personal discipline on a scale of 1 to 10?
Really had this election, they've been able to put a lot of pressure on employers, and now you're seeing a flip, and you're seeing this is going to be an employer's market. There's going to be a lot of people. Obviously, there's north of 30 million now. It's going to be a lot of people looking for work. And my thing is, if you want to get your ideal job, you want to make your passion something that you're able to pursue, you've got to be able to outperform other people. And I would say the same thing to a kid that's coming up, somebody that's about to graduate, whatever. Like, you've got to be better than the next person. You've got to build a skill set that allows you to excel. And my thing is, like, you are living proof of one simple thing. If you can outperform people, there really is no cap to how far you can go. You put your money where your mouth is when it comes to an investment strategy. Obviously, with Bridgewater, you guys have just outperformed people. It's really been quite extraordinary. And yes, people need to save. Yes, they need to focus on where they're getting their income from. They need to practice austerity measures, all of that. But ultimately, people can propel themselves forward if they're out there learning, growing, getting better, pushing. I would go so far as to say even being aggressive to try to continue to move up. But it comes down to recognizing that skills have utility. They actually let you do something. They let you out invest somebody. They let you build a better house or a better bridge. And so what I want to see people do through this time, I just think most people will be obliterated mentally. They're going to get scared. They're going to panic. They're not going to be able to think clearly, and they won't put themselves on a path to excel. So wonder what am I missing there? Because I know that people don't, that is not a popular thing to say right now. Not something that I get a lot of negative feedback from people. It's like basically pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So I'd love to understand like where the flaw is in that thinking, where when you talk about the there not being equal opportunity, one, what can people do to right that ship at a personal level? I get at the higher up systemic, the way that we address it through policy and things like that, but at a personal level, is there something people can do?
Well, I think you're exactly right. I think that
that right there,
though, is short of.
There you go. Buy Bitcoin. but then also learn about it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna let it play.
Specifics and that particular action, and the question is who can help them. So yes, if they're wily and hardworking and clever enough, they still need triangulation and help to find out where is the training program, what is that skill. They can't do it alone. They have to do it with the help.
Masculine Empowerment Network and the Crypto Mindset.
And I would recommend, I did 2 30-minute videos. One is Principles for Success, a 30-minute YouTube video, and it's about an approach to life that a lot of people, something like 14, I don't know, a lot of people have seen this. And I would say it's worth your 30 minutes, I think, in terms of an approach to life. And then there's also, if you're interested in the economy, I did a 30-minute video, How the Economic Machine Works, in 30 minutes. And that had a lot of views, more 14 million, I think. And it was liked. So I can't tell them in this very brief interview how we're going to exactly who will get them that training and that capability. But I think you're right. Skill that you love, that sells, is what you need. Now you go to, each person has their own particular way of possibly getting that. To some case, it might be a start low in an organization and work your way up. To some cases, it may be a government training program. In some cases, it may be a relative or a friend who can get you going, and so on. As I said, one of my main principles is there's always a path out there. You just don't happen to see the path now. So you have to find.
Can you pause it right there for a second?
Yeah.
If like one of the things my dad always said when I was growing up, he was like, if I only knew what key to press on the keyboard every single day, I'd make $1 million tomorrow. It's just one of these things where it's like the internet is such a way that this generation has over any human generation previous in history, right? When did we have this, new economic machine, I guess is a way to put it, in terms of the internet? When did we start being able to tap into this realistically? It was 1993 to 1996 for the people who were early, right? And then after that, it's been mainstream almost ever since. And it's the same thing for crypto, right? Where we're at now in the first 13 years of Bitcoin, right? Going on 14, 15, it's the early stage to be able to make money through this new financial system. You can make money on your phone, sitting on the toilet, doing trades like Ray Dalio did in the mid 90s. Ray Dalio, when he started Bridgewater Associates in 1985, they were doing charts on pen and paper a lot of the times, right? They're literally printing these things out and then putting them like, what's his name? Paul Tudor Jones, right? He's putting these pieces of paper to figure out the 1987 stock market crash and overlaying different things on them and then hand drawing different charts on them. Like that's how these guys had to do it back in the day. And now we have the luxury of sitting on the toilet and doing that on our phone, just and figuring things out. Not that we're going to be as good as these guys are at it. Sometimes that type of perseverance is needed, but just generally speaking, right? We have more tools at our disposal now. And I think you mentioned this many, many times, the Masculine Empowerment Network in your streams as well, which is if you are an able-bodied human being, right, you have no excuse, because the amount of things that you can learn through the internet, the amount of things that you can do through the internet are just so massive that they're only going to become more and more profitable. I mean, look at the metaverse. You could probably, like you said last week, become some dude with, an avatar and make money that way. So
yeah, just for clarifications, he's saying there's a, sorry, I have a bad habit of like speaking out into the mic. Can you hear me when I'm talking like this?
Yeah, can hear you just fine.
No, there's a guy in the metaverse who has like a digital representation of himself, is a big-breasted, skinny woman, and he's a stripper in the metaverse, and people are paying him, and he's making $10,000 a week. Just right here. Here's his office.
Just keep pressing those buttons, bro, to do your dance, whatever it takes, right?
Do you know the number one most super chatted channel on YouTube is?
No.
It's a YouTube channel where digital girls dance.
Yeah,
like
not surprised.
VR people. Charlie, millions of dollars a month being donated. Millions.
Hey,
we're in the wrong industry.
we're actually doing the hard work. God damn it.
Oh my God. Unbelievable, dude. It's just true. But that just like, I'll be honest with you. Okay. So I grew up poor, right? I didn't have rich mom and dad. I didn't even have a dad in my house. And to be honest with you, I understand what Ray's saying when the people that are poor, they don't know how to get rich. They don't know how to find opportunity, right?
They don't have as many people to help them.
No, I had idiots in church telling me to give my life to Jesus and he'll take care of everything.
That's what I mean. They're not getting good advice from people in general, right?
Exactly. And I remember because I just thought like, well, I want to be rich because I just hated being poor and I was willing to do whatever it took. And I was just like, okay, I'll just be a doctor. Then I found out you have to go to school for like basically minimum of 10 years to become a doctor, right? 4 years bachelor, 4 years med school, and then 2 years residency on the shorter end, but some residencies are up to 6 years. And then, that happened. And then I went to a plastic surgeon just to like get like, because part of my curriculum was to go talk to a doctor. And I knew plastic surgeons just made bank. So I went to talk to this guy. I was like, I just want to be rich. He's like, dude, he's a kid. You don't need to become a doctor to be rich. And when he told me that was like a mind-blowing opportunity for me in my life. And I just didn't even see it. And that's why I teach people in the Masculine Empowerment Network, like the quickest path to get to $100,000 a year. Because $100,000 a year is like your foot in the door to financial freedom. You know what I mean? That's where we got to get going. But there's just so many distractions out there: porn, video games, drugs. I mean, drugs are getting stronger. Booze,
more legal.
OnlyFans. I mean, these things are like your smartphone, social media, they're engineered to like make you dopamine slaves. So I can kind of understand. Plus, like, dude, now that I'm like really, my mind is totally awoke on like what food is actually good for you versus bad for you. Like I was walking through the supermarket today, I'm like, 90% of this shit is just poison that's going to kill you. So I can understand we live in a super crazy toxic world, but I mean, that's just the world we live in, man. And I was able to figure it out, and then you were able to, figure it out, and then here we are. And now we're helping people on the Moon Gang, and people in my who are part of my network, the Masculine Empowerment Network.
Yep.
That's what we're doing. And it's,
I mean, John has a good comment in the chat, not that one. This one here, it's like, give people value. I think that was one of the things that you said when you first started your channel, or like got really into your channel in 2019, right? So it's like, give people value, be honest with people. Sometimes you're wrong, and it is what it is. But as long as you're giving like more value, right, then people are needing or expecting, then people will reciprocate, right? And like that's the core of business, and it's so simple. But people these days, I think they also are part of the scarcity mindset where they're like, you know, I need to take instead of give. And if you're in a giving mindset, you tend to get more as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's an abundance mindset. And what he said also is pretty spot on. I've been doing this. The animal-based diet has changed my mental clarity. Dude, it's crazy. Like, you know, just eating an animal-based diet has like completely stopped me from having hunger and craving terrible foods. It's really, I'm really having a life-changing moment within these last couple of weeks when I've kind of gone on this diet. So, but yeah, like, and I'm 36 years old and I've been eating poison and thinking like carbs are necessary for survival my whole life. And now I'm kind of like realized I've been lied to in a whole other facet. I'm like I'm just waiting to like be disappointed in all areas, like just in regards to like learning so much and discovering new levels of truth is what I mean.
Oh yeah,
But,
for sure. Well,
but yeah,
and then cow farts are bad for the ozone layer, right?
Yeah,
and it's ridiculous.
The food pyramid. You got to eat 6 to 11 servings of cups of rice per day. That's really that's what you need. Jesus Christ. Anyways, let's go back to here.
If you find that path, and you can't find it alone, the way you find that path is to speak to other people, get many ideas by other people. And then, you know, you have to keep yourself trial and error. You got to keep at it. Like when you're getting a job or getting a skill, it's a lot of trying. And so that requires a certain amount of discipline. And if you have a discipline problem, get help with the discipline problem. Have somebody kick you out of bed or whatever it is that you can get there. There is a path. You just don't see the right path at the moment. So many aspects of life are more actually the opposite convention. Like comfort, it's comfortable. Well, look, life teaches you over and over again. You want to get stronger? Okay, it's not comfortable. You want, okay? So stronger does not go with necessarily comfortable. Pain, okay? Pain plus reflection equals progress. Pain is a teacher. You want to eliminate pain from your life? You're going to have a better life? No, because it's giving you messages, okay? So many different things are the opposite of what we're taught. And it goes down to even the education system, okay? You failed. Hey, that's the beginning of a discovery process. That's a good thing, okay? Okay, now how do I look at failure and learn from failure? No, you're stupid, you failed.
How do people find out like their nature? And do you think of us all as having a sort of true nature? And then from that, how do people decide on the paths of accomplishment or savoring, and what to define those for people?
Yeah, there's a couple of concepts in there, so I'll they're related, and but I'll parse them. First of all, on the nature, it's really a self-discovery process. Discovering what you want, discovering what you're like you were describing your various cases where you're discovering what you like, and then you go through that discovery. And the best way to do that is to want to do that, right? It takes an hour, and it's a self-discovery thing.
Did you guys, you created it yourself?
Yeah. And we've used others. We've used Myers-Briggs, Team Dimension, Workplace Inventory, and so other. And then we moved beyond that. The main thing is if you want self-discovery, then you'll find your ways of getting the self-discovery. They'll appear all around you. And yes, you have your nature, the thing that pulled. Don't be, a round peg in a square hole. Find your nature, what's going to flourish and make your, that's why I said when you were talking about your development, mine too, make your passion and your work the same thing. Know what your nature is. Yes, so I believe in terms of that particular nature. Then we get to the particular of one of the big choices in life is savor life or accomplish. Like we have a lot of choices in our lives, and they're almost sort of mutually exclusive sometimes. I want to go to the ball game, and I want to watch a movie, and I want to do that, and I just want to sit back and on a nice day and smell the roses. Okay. Simultaneously, I want to change the world.
Okay. I want to change the world and I've got this. Or the work-life balance question and all of those. We face those types of choices, right? So it's really important to go above oneself and to reflect on that. And also, by the way, to realize that the choices are not, you're approaching the choice wrong when you often see it as kind of that trade-off, because the truth is you can have a lot more life and you can have a lot more if you just know how to get more out of a minute. How much do I get per minute, or how much do I get per hour?
Do you have secrets on that? Because I will take them all.
There are a number of them in here, but and we can talk about them. But the capacity to, rather than, we do all have to face our choices, but to also realize that you can expand how much life you're going to get out of life and how at that range if you really do it well. So there are those choices. Which are those choices? And we face them, and then you have to decide how to do them well.
Give me a couple things that I can do to get more out of a minute.
First of all, if you do make your passion and your work the same thing, then it's great, right? Because your passion, whatever it might be, you're a painter or you're an entrepreneur and whatever that is, and you find that more enjoyable than going to a ball game, let's say, then that becomes a passionate thing. That's one thing. Second, to know how to work with people who can do things really well to get the most leverage out of people, okay? Third, how do you get yourself really, what are the right work habits? Anyway, there's a whole bunch of those.
Pause it right there.
How do I
like leveraging other people in terms of a team? Like, I think that's kind of a theme in what he was talking with education as well, is right. You can't do it alone, right? You can try, you can do some things alone, but you definitely go further the more that you find like-minded people who can help you out. And then also, perform different functions, because you're not going to be an expert at everything either, right? So, I think that point right there is one that's huge for kind of maximizing time versus effort.
Yeah, and what he says about just getting just getting the most time out of each minute. You got to move quickly. Like people don't understand. Like, if you want to be successful and you move slow, you don't understand what it is to be successful, and you don't understand and you don't respect the principles of success. Time waits for nobody, and we are all running out of time.
Yep.
And you guys sitting on the fence thinking, oh, I'll do this next week, or I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it in a few hours. First of all, that's a habit of the lazy. And people who continually say, I'll put it off, and put it off. Eventually all that fucking laziness catches up with them in the areas of like finances catching up with you, getting fat, relationship problems, jobs. You're again, I want to double down on your finances again. Like, you got to get in the habit of taking action immediately and targeting stuff and getting going as soon as possible, because success loves speed. And if you just waste your time, I mean, it's just like people who waste money. You're not going to get more of it. And it's a very, you want to be a faithful steward of the things that are given to you. And I mean, a lot of people just think they're going to live forever. A lot of people think they can drag their ass on things and there's going to be no consequences. But there's big financial consequences. There's big reputation consequences. There's big health consequences. This is why I move fast in all the things that I do. And, time kills all deals. That's a thing. And he knows. This is a man who manages $150 billion. He knows what's up by trying to get everything out of a single minute,
Yeah, exactly. And when kind of like you said, you're going to double down on people with finances, right? Because you don't get educated about this in high school or general education. Even if you take finance in university, they teach you a lot of bullshit, to be honest. And so how much time do you work per day for your money versus how much time do you use per day to plan how to invest that money so that you don't have to work as long in terms of your life, right? I would say for most people, they how much time do they devote on their finances? Like once a month, once a quarter, they do like a balance sheet check if they're like, pretty responsible, right? First, versus they're working 40 hours plus a week to get that money, and then they're spending it, a lot of it on the weekend, right? And they're just like money in, money out, money in, money out, paycheck to paycheck, paycheck to paycheck, right? Instead of thinking long term, because they weren't really taught how to do that in school. So it is, like you said, you understand with the dopamine hits from the screens that are in front of people every day and all that type of stuff, why people don't do that as much these days as they should be. But that's why I think this video is so important, talking about, a lot of these things are timeless principles that you can use to survive and thrive in any situation, but it's even more imperative, right, when you do have a financial crisis.
Oh, yeah.
What you say, how do I get it done without me doing it? Who's the best to do it, and how do I get it? And all of a sudden you open yourself up to all different possibilities of how you can do that, right? No time. I think Tim Ferriss wrote the 4-minute or the 4-hour
Work week.
Work week or something. Like, okay, 4-hour work week. Okay, or okay, there are approaches, all those ways of being able to do that. So I just gave you, a few.
What are the elements of struggling well? What does it mean to struggle well, and how do we do it?
Well, first, that's why that phrase, I use the phrase, struggle well or tough love. Okay, I put those words together because that exemplifies the fact that people don't think they go together. And so if you start to realize struggling well is what will get you what you want, okay, rather than avoiding struggle, that's what I'm trying to convey. And so if you realize that, then you will go to the struggle. You won't be averse to the struggle. And you will think, and then under that in the book, I wrote all these different ways of what it means to struggle well, okay? How you have thoughtful disagreement, how you listen to maybe you're not good at that or not, how you learn, how you navigate all the ways through that so that you get stronger. Because if you don't struggle, you won't get stronger, okay? So struggling well, go above it, okay, struggling well.
And I want to talk about this too. And this may sound like I'm going to try and cover our ass, but it's not. Losing money in the cryptocurrency market is part of your struggle. Every single person watching right now, okay? You're not going to have this cherry-picked, perfect ascension to the top. It doesn't work like that. Anything. If you want to find a good husband or a good wife or whatever, for men or women watching right now, you're going to have to go through a lot of shitty people to meet that good person. That's just facts. That's about anything. That's like the same thing with the gym. You don't walk into the gym and day one rep 225 right off rip. You don't walk into the the MMA gym or the kickboxing gym, boxing, whatever, and just have like a flawless fight and you never get hit in the face. You never get a busted nose. You never get a busted lip. You never get injuries, right? People got to realize, you got to get ready for pain if you want to get better. You got to get ready for emotional pain. You got to get ready for physical pain. You have got to get ready to endure. And it's been like that. They've been saying that since the dawn of civilization. Like even in the Bible, I think it was Paul of Tarsus who said that, the race is not won by he who is the fastest or the strongest, but he who endures. Yep. And that's how you get good in life. You got to get experience. You got to get licks, and you got to get up. You got to learn from your past mistakes, and you got to keep optimizing and moving forward.
Yeah. The way that I put it for crypto is just consistency and persistence. If you have those two traits, you're going to do well. But that persistence is not easy. People, there's that meme in crypto where the guy's going through all this, shit, and basically he also, has survived, sharks, fire, water, all this shit, right? And then at the end, he's holding his Bitcoin, he's all bloody and shit. And he's like, but he's making money, right? And then they're like, "Oh, you're so lucky." It's like,
God.
well, let me tell you this story, right? So, but nobody wants to hear that, right? Which is absolutely hilarious. It's kind of like a cosmic joke to some extent, but yeah, I mean, persistence and consistency, that's all you need.
Yeah, and I think this is the perfect example here. Like it's a obviously it's like literally a meme, but like it's just right here. Like this is what you guys think the plan is. And this is reality of getting to where you want to get, right? Some of you guys are going to get divorced, some of you find out your spouse is cheating on you, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever. You know, some of your kids are going to like get arrested, go to jail, you know, you're going to get hit with some kind of sickness. Like that's life, and life is tough, man. Nobody gets out alive. But
you might get hit by lightning. Who the hell knows, right?
You know, but then yeah, you're right. When you do get to the finish line, you're like, wow, this guy's so lucky. He probably cheated. And you're just like, man, fuck humanity.
I bet you Ray Dalio gets that all the time. There's probably people who are like, man, you know, and I mean, probably a lot of people don't know what all the struggles and what the story he's gone through. And, you know, he's not the type of person to really like be woe is me. So he's not probably going to get into that too much. Right. And so, but he's the type of person that if you were to ask that, you'd probably learn a lot from.
Oh yeah. Big time. Let's continue.
A big element is to go above your struggle, just like you did. You look back and say, okay, am I struggling well, rather than be in it and doing those things. So there are a lot of different ways of how to struggle well. But if you know, okay, that struggling is a good thing. Okay, if you want to be strong, it's a good thing. I'll give you another example. I have
I tell you, my uncle told me a story from my uncle's from the island of Trinidad, right?
Yep.
He's a pastor and he's a plumber. He's a millionaire. He's a good guy. And he told me, he said, you know, John Boy, let me tell you a story. And he told me a story. He's like, one time I had these two little chickens, right? And they were being hatched. And, you know, your Aunt Rhea, his wife, she's like, she saw the chicken struggling to get out of his shell. So she went over there and help the chicken get out of his shell, right? And he said, I had my chicken. I said, I'm going to let my chicken work and fight his way out. And then he said, in 3 weeks, you could see the little chicken that she helped get out of the shell was weak and you know, messed up and everything. Mm-hmm. And then my chicken was strong and healthy and running around, right? And he was saying, like, you know, because he knew that I had some rich friends, and I was like 25 at the time, and I was kind of like, you know, I'm seeing all my rich friends, like literally like multi-millionaire parents, and I'm like, you know, working at Olive Garden and trying to like get the final end of my degree, because I got my degree when I was 25. And you know, I was just struggling so hard, like literally like working at Olive Garden and then working security at night, and then like selling mattresses and sofas on Craigslist to like make up the difference, just so I could be poor, just so I could just be poor. I'd like work my way up to poverty. And you know, it was just insane to be going through that and see my friend complain about his life, and he had like literally everything handed to him. And my uncle gave me that story, but it's so true. Even in nature, like you need struggle. You absolutely need it.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, whenever I meet those types of people too, you know, I'm just like, wow, you know, like, I don't know. It's just like, they don't know what they don't have. Right. Or they don't, maybe I didn't phrase that correctly, but what do you call it? They don't know what they have until it's gone is probably the better way to put it. Yeah. Right. And by the time it's gone, they're not in a situation to help themselves. And I think that's where the education system in the current society has put a lot of people, to be honest. So yeah, that's not good.
I do that to a lot of girls. I'm like, oh no, I gotta date a manager from Starbucks now.
Oh shit.
If you worry, you don't have to worry. And if you don't worry, you have to worry. Okay? Because what I mean is, if you're worrying about what can go wrong, chances are you will create the protections against that thing going wrong, and therefore that's good. And if you're not worrying about the things that are going to go wrong, then they'll probably, the things you never expect are going to come and hit you. Okay? And so it sounds counterintuitive. If you worry, you don't have to worry. And if you don't worry, you better worry. But what it means is that process of, okay, go to the thing, go to it. and enjoy it. View these things as puzzles. Your personality will change. You'll enjoy it, okay? Because life is a puzzle. It's a going through the jungle, okay? It's like that. I'll tell you a story. You know, so I crash, and I figure, oh, risk and reward go together. You want to have a great life, okay, and you want to be safe at the same time. They sound almost like mutually exclusive, okay? So I viewed it as, okay, I'm like sitting on one side of a jungle, and that if I can get to the other side of a jungle safely, I'll have a great life. But okay, but if I cross the jungle, oh, all sorts of things are going to happen. Now, what am I going to choose? Am I going to be on this side of the jungle and have just an ordinary life? Or am I going to have what I think is the best life possible, but ooh, I can get bit and all those things. And that's just the nature of life. And then I said, I have to, it's my nature, I have to have the best life I can have. So I've got to go into the jungle. Now the question is, how do I go into that jungle and be successful at that? And I could tell you the answer. The answer is, first, by worrying about what I don't see that I might be wrong with, and to do it with people who see the things that I might not see. And we are all doing it as a mission to get through that jungle well together. And when I went through that jungle and we do that together, the thing I found out, which is so wonderful, is I don't want to leave the jungle. I don't want to get to the other side because I want to be with those people on that mission. And that whole experience becomes great. So I found my way to be successful in the jungle, to get to the other side. And I found out what really is a great reward.
Yeah, that's extraordinary.
Pause it there.
And that resonates with me so.
I mean, if you have a good team, right, that's what you need, right? You need to get like-minded people around you and go towards the same goal. There's somebody and this is why we build the Masculine Empowerment Network. This is why we build the Moon Gang, the Hot Dude Army, all these things, right? We're getting like-minded people. We don't come here on YouTube and just say things to get clicks and views, right? I mean, we just had, I had, at the beginning, like 5 people watching me, and I was okay with that. But somebody in the Moon Gang today, right, put a pretty good.
Hard.
No. Sorry. No, I was trying to pause you. I've just because I was like, no, I got to give you your credit. I got to say, guys, like a lot of you guys just popped in when Charlie was already streaming to like hundreds of people. But I got to say, man, Charlie, you got to give it up to you, man. I give you a lot of shit behind the scenes, but for months, Charlie used to show up and live stream to fucking 5 people.
Yep.
5 fucking people, man. That takes a lot of balls.
Oh yeah.
It takes a lot of balls.
One of the things that you said to me though, that made that work very well was just like, imagine the people in the room with you. Yeah. Right. If you try to imagine 5 people in the room with you that are going to listen to your bullshit, not your bullshit, but you know what I mean? Like the stuff you're talking about. Because I mean, you don't always think the stuff that you're talking about is that relevant, right? But then all of a sudden there's 30 people in the room, right? And then a lot of other people will be like, well, there's only 30 people watching me. I'm not going to do this tomorrow. But if there's 30 people in the physical room with you, that's a lot of fucking people, right? And then a lot of people would say, oh, well, you guys only have 365 people watching you right now. Well, I can't fit 365 people in my house.
You put even a bigger perspective. Imagine 365 people were outside your apartment trying to kill you,
Well, I don't really view it that way. But what I was getting at,
it would give you an optimistic spin. You'd be like, that's a lot of people,
That is a lot of people.
5 dudes banging on your front door trying to get in would be terrifying,
Right. But what I was going for was, so we create the Moon Gang, we create the Hot Dude Army, we create all these groups of people who are like-minded, not because we're just trying to get popular and famous on YouTube or any of that type of bullshit. Because a lot of people go for, I just want to get 100,000 views and all that bullshit, right? We don't want just anybody coming into our communities. We want people who are like-minded, who are attracted to our honest truth, right? But one of the guys in the Citadel today put a very good picture out there, which was, or just saying, which was, what does fear mean, right? So you can take it one of two ways. One, you can take it as forget everything and run, right? Or you can take it as face everything and rise. Like that's what Ray Dalio is saying right here, right? You have the choice to either venture out there and face your fear and actually try to do something, or, you know, you can just sit down, watch TV, go to work tomorrow, and, you know, just do the same old routine day after day after day. And so, you know, for people who actually want to get out there and do something, right, and be somebody, I guess, if, as Navin R. Johnson would say, but if you just go out there and try to do the things that are hard, right, you will have success if you are persistent at it. So I think all that information right there is just absolutely vital for people, because a lot of people hear those things, but they don't see those things in action very much. So it's cool to see, you know, when the Moon Gang and the Hot Dude Army start doing those things themselves, because then our coalition of the willing essentially becomes, you know, that much stronger. And I don't see many other communities out there in any of the spaces that we're in doing those things. They just go out there for the clout.
Yep. Let's go back to the video. Yeah.
Yep. About really enjoying the struggle, and A, that's what's making you stronger. B, there's just something innate, certainly with a certain personality type, that is what you're going to love, is that fight and reaching your limits and pushing beyond them. Now I'm curious, is there going to be a struggle for you in the third phase? Is there a new jungle that you're going into? So to quickly define that for people, you said in phase 1, you're dependent on others. You're essentially a child and you're learning. Phase 2, you go to work, other people become dependent on you. And then at the end of phase 2, you pass it off to other people. You want them to thrive without you. You give them the knowledge and the wherewithal. And then in phase 3, you do
you save her life.
So you have accepted the truth.
What's that going to look like for you?
It's the freedom to do whatever you want to do without obligations. It is the realization that you shouldn't, and it's not good to control anybody. It's just savoring life.
That's what I do now. I just work as well, you know?
Yeah.
That you have,
you know, I mean, and I'll tell this too. I'll tell this to people watching. Like, you really don't need to make millions and millions and millions of dollars to be happy. You really just need to have like a sustainable financial ecosystem set up for yourself. And, you know, you could do that. Like, all you need to do is like structure your life that you don't have a crazy amount of rent, but you could work remotely and you could generate. Honestly, I don't think life changes much after, I would say, $300,000 a year. And that's totally achievable if you focus really hard for like worst case scenario, 10 years. And that's a long period of time. Like $300,000 is not that much money as it used to be. And it's so easy to get it if you just consistently apply yourself and go where the money is, you know, get on the internet, cybersecurity, programming, right? Funneling that money into real estate investments, having cash flowing properties, getting to commercial real estate. There's so many opportunities out there. Like, the barrier to entry has been absolutely demolished by the internet. You know, back in the day, if you were poor, like, you pretty much had to just be poor. Like, you may have squeezed your way out, but most people stayed in their lane. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or like what's that Tracy guy? I forgot his first name. The guy that I love, you know, his sales tapes.
Oh, Brian Tracy.
Brian Tracy, right? Well, I mean, you'd have to be like Brian Tracy, literally go and knock on every single door, right? That's what you had to do back in the day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I love it. Love it. Let's keep going.
you can do anything you want. You go to freedom. If there's a life arc.
Yes.
There's a life arc, and I put together this book as a 600-page book. I also then was asked by a lot of people to make a simpler version about principles for success, and it's a little book, and it'll be out. We're putting it out on the new.
How lazy are people? Like, the guy manages $150 billion. He makes a 600-page book. People are like, could you make it shorter for us? Could you dumb it down a bit? Could you just kind of cut to the chase?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's people who come into any of our courses, right? They go to the webinars that they feel like are the most, interesting. They only watch those, right? And it's like, well, did you attend the risk management webinar, sir?
Or people who don't even attend the webinars and they hit you up 3 months later. Hey, I never attended. Can I watch the replay? Like, dude, you missed like everything.
Yeah.
Oh boy, let's continue. Guys, don't forget, smash the like button and send this to one of your friends that is doing pretty bad financially. And we're going to do our best to help as many people. Doesn't matter if it's man, woman, just send them on down and have them watch us consistently. Because if they watch us, they're going to get better.
Newsstands, you actually could be pre-ordered on Amazon. And in that book, I show a life arc, and I track through what are the various phases of life, and what is the happiest phase, what is the least happy phase, and how does it work? And I could take you through all that if you're interested.
I'm very interested.
Oh, okay. Well, it depends how much time we got, but okay. That
This may be the slightly nutshell.
Okay,
version.
the nutshell version is you start off and it is very, very, it's a really enjoyable phase in life. You start to experience responsibilities like junior year. Okay, do I get into the school I want to get into or whatever? That's quite common. College is great. It's exploratory. Come out of college, there's the most amount of freedom you have. So that transition, end school, come into now the new phase of life is totally different than the first phase of life, because what it means is you don't follow any track. All through there, you are following track in the direction of others. And now you can live anywhere you want. You can pick any job you want. You can do anything you want. You have total freedom. There's no guide. You can do anything you want. You have that freedom. And you move forward with that. And then you start to make decisions and you start to take on obligations. You might get married. You might have kids. You have jobs, and you take on that. And the least happy period in life by surveys of happiness is 45 to 55. Okay, because then you have the work-life balance and the obligations and too many things to do, and then maybe it's not as idyllic as you want. You get into the marriage and whatever it is, and then maybe it's not the marriage that you expected or the things that you're having, and all of those things. That's a difficult phase of life, that middle part of that phase in life, 45 to 55 and so on. And then people transition. It's interesting and opposite than what I would have expected, that the happiest phase in life is between 60 and 80. And the funny thing about it, which is really funny, they ask people, how good do you look? And they rate it the highest at that age. Now that's not true, right? But what happens is,
because they're just happy to be alive, man.
Right.
No, you got, and it's not, some
people need to face their mortality more often, right?
I was just gonna say it. Some people, some people need to do. They need to smoke some serious bomb ass weed, because that shit will send you into the fucking most gnarly ever existential crisis. Smoke some weed and watch a space movie, and you're gonna be like, fuck, man, the voids of space are so vast and my life is so finite and we're never gonna figure this out, and I just gotta enjoy my life. I gotta call my mom, I love you, do you need money? That's what I do.
I like it.
But hey, what are you gonna do, man? You just gotta fucking live it up. But I'm telling you, I think about my death every single day, like literally every single day. I think about my death, and like I'm concocting ways to cheat death. But also, more importantly, the thing is with, the irrefutable fact that we are all dust in the wind. We're all going to perish. That alone should inspire you to get your ass moving. And it's not impossible. Stop doubting yourself. I'm a fucking dirty little immigrant child from a Trinidadian mother who was a cafeteria worker who raised me up, did her best ever. And now I'm a literal bastard child immigrant, and I was able to make millions with my business. You guys can do it too. And my whole 20s were me just doing drugs and partying, being an idiot. I didn't get my act together until I was in my 30s. And, if I could do it, that's why I believe anybody can do it, because I had the hardest path to the top. And, it's all about consistently. And that's why you're never going to see Charlie or I selling out and doing shit that's just not good for the audience. You're never going to see us giving you crypto gambling links, gambling website links, sports betting, crypto leverage trading shit, anything that has a statistical probability for you to lose. We're just not going to tell you guys to do it, because we want, like, we obviously know that we can't make everybody a winner, but we're both trying our damnedest to make it happen, especially me, because that's what I do full time.
The key is giving everybody the opportunity, and a better opportunity than what we had, right? And that's it, right? And the amount of information, it's always funny, right? I'm like, man, people who are taking the crypto mindset course really just don't know how lucky they are, because they're getting handed like 3 to 5 years of condensed knowledge, right? And now they can go and test. They have, like you said, they have to go and experience those hard battles. But if they can persevere through it and have that consistency, they're going to make it out the other end cleaner than we did. Because in 2017, there wasn't anybody, around that was really giving that type of advice, right? And now there is. And so hopefully that does help a lot of people to have a better experience in crypto. But it's kind of funny because, like, when you do get that information, right, it's like, well, you don't know what it was like if you didn't have that, right? Once you have it. So and it's the same thing with the information that you give in the Masculine Empowerment Network and everything like that. It's people should, this might sound arrogant, but count their lucky stripes that they are able to access this information widely, right? But it's good education, and people really need to take advantage of it. But like you said, not everybody's going. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. But like, that's just it. And somebody's saying, Alec, where's Alex? Alex, I'll find you. Say, better not sell. I'm not. Liz, you can't buy me. I am not for sale. You're not going to buy me.
Likewise.
Nobody's going to buy me. Okay. No, I'm not for sale. Okay. I'm going to do what I'm damn good at, which is continuing to lift men up. Okay. Remember, the philosophy of my dating business is become a better man. It's not like, hey, say these cheesy pickup lines and then you're going to get the girl. No, it's right here on my wall. Money, muscles, game, frame. Make money, make muscles, learn game, hold frame. Core 4 that every man should be implementing in his life to become a better man. That's my philosophy. That's what I want my legacy to be. When I'm dead, I want there to be people like money, muscles, game, frame. I hope it happens in my lifetime. I don't want to be like, Patrice O'Neill blowing up after he's dead.
Right across the casket.
Yeah, that's just going to say, here lies money, muscles, game. I love it. So, but yeah, we're not selling out. You're not gonna see it. So AJ says, AJ James, wow, John's Caribbean. Yeah, welcome to the show, man. I bet you didn't know that. Yeah, I'm a basket full of surprise. All right, let's go back to vid.
People at that point feel more comfortable with themselves in various ways. When you make that transition, you're eliminating all of those obligations. You're eliminating all of those things. You're giving yourself free. I don't have to take care of it. I savor. My family's well without me, or whatever it is. I've got the free time. I could do whatever I want to do. That doesn't mean life isn't exciting. I find life very exciting. I'm very vital. I like those types of things, but totally free of choice. And you also savor the life arc, even as people approach their death. They approach the death in a whole different way than what death seems to be for people in their early years, right? Oh, you're terrible, terrible thing. No, it's just part of that particular process. And how do you do that life arc? And the curtain goes down, and that is a different phase in life. So, my responsibility now is to pass along what I'm doing. Like, right, I got plenty of money, so I'm not working for money. I'm giving away plenty of money because it helps and whatever. And I'm just passing along. I'll have that life arc, and then I'm going to go quiet, and I savor life. And I love nature. So I go outside in nature. Okay, that has a big effect on me. I love it. So that's what the third phase of my life looks like.
Yeah, man, the whole notion that you're living an arc, that there are phases, I think is really important. And I don't think enough people recognize that your frame of reference will change as you move from phase to phase, and what was important to you in one phase will not be important to you in the next. Because I was thinking as you were talking, I was like, I personally don't believe that you can skip a phase. I don't think that certainly not with my personality and probably not with yours. It's not like you can skip the accomplishment phase and go straight to the savor phase. And I thought about that. You know, my wife and I have made enough money, we could buy an island and retire and just be done with it. And when I really thought about how that would make me feel, didn't seem like it would make me feel the way that I want to feel, because I still want to be in the jungle. But as I hear you describe the savoring, it's like, yeah, I get how my life could get to a point where that's what I would crave.
Yeah, you see, what I'm hearing you do well is you're looking down on yourself. Again, you're describing, I'm looking at how I feel, I'm looking at, so you're connecting the feelings with the thinking, and so that's true. And in terms of, no, of course there's a sequence to that life. What I did in the book, which would be fun for people to do, is I show all the different markers in all the different phases and little boxes next to them. And so what they can do is they can check where they are. They know exactly where they are. And then also by showing that, I'm showing them what they can expect. Because if you're here on that arc, you can expect these things probably as you're going check, check, check. Those are the things. Now you can start to imagine, where do I want to be in 10 years? And also, where are the people I love, who I care about, or what are their relationships? Where will they be? Where will my children be in 10 years? And what will they go through? Or what will my parents, where will they be in 10 years? And how will that relate to how I want to have my life go? Because, and it's the same thing. You'll see the same things happen over and over again. All these lives are basically kind of the same things. And when you put that in perspective and you step back and you look at it, it's really great.
The notion of it's another one of those, and I say that in a way designed to remove fear and uncertainty, which is something that paralyzes so many people. And I think one of the things you've really given,
especially in the crypto market, I mean, fear and uncertainty is like literally, we have an acronym for it, FUD.
Yeah, and that's how people lose their money.
Yep.
Right, because all that uncertainty. That's why having multiple ways to do analysis can remove enough of that uncertainty to where you can actually make a logical decision.
And people right now, I mean, people look at me, they're terrified right now.
And in the month of October, man, we're gonna, what are we gonna soak up their blood and tears with? The dirty fiat that we're getting rid of to get more Bitcoin, Ethereum. And I know it sounds terrible, but it's just the way it is.
Anybody who's really deeply come in contact with your work is that sense of there is that higher perspective that shows that you're not the first person to have a child. You're not the first person to embarrass yourself publicly. You're not the first person to go through whatever heartbreak or heartache that you're going through. And when you can contextualize it, then you get to another thing that you've said, which of course, Buddhists have been saying for a long time, this too shall pass. Like whatever hardship you're in the middle of, or whatever joy you're in the middle of, it's all part of a cycle. And so all of it will ease in the end. And
that's
so,
one thing I want to say right here is just the thing you were saying a little bit earlier is people have a hard time imagining their future and other people's future around them. If you can literally look into the future and have a decent idea of what's going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years, that's all you need. As long as you can imagine the next 5 to 10 years, right? You can kind of get in front of these cycles that they're talking about here.
Yep. I think we can cut it there, and we're gonna catch up for we'll do a part 3 next week. So we're gonna wrap it up here, guys, and then next week we will catch up with part 3 of this series. Don't forget to hit that like, comment, subscribe button. Charlie will be live on his channel tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be live on my channel following that, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, you guys have a great day. We'll see you next time.